Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to offer my thoughts on the latest twists and turns today. As when the video is published, the debate on Sunak's Rwanda safety bill will be raging. Indeed it is, as I'm recording this, with the vote scheduled for later, unless he pulls it, but he's not pulling it. And this is something that could end the government. So I want to discuss the latest possibilities. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So we haven't had a situation quite like this for 5 years now, literally 5 years. This is the sort of situation that ends a government. 5 years ago, it did it slowly over a period of months. The same may happen, or it may happen more quickly. There are so many things that could happen. It would be the pursuit of madness to go over all possibilities, even though I'm not getting very much sleep as I do exactly that, turning them over in my head all the time. But in simple terms, what are the possible outcomes? First, the bill passes and the showdown is put off for a month, but the showdown will still happen. Second, Sunak pulls the bill, in which case it's possible to have another go at getting the bill through Parliament later. The ERG have called for him to do this, but realistically, there's nowhere to go with that, and I don't think he's going to pull the bill. Third, the bill goes to a vote this evening and loses. This could result in either a confidence vote, an early election, or a change of leadership. In order to make the first outcome happen, getting the bill passed and putting off the major battle for a month or so, Sunak invited 15 assorted loons to breakfast. A Brexit breakfast. Included Lee Anderson, Jonathan Gullis, Danny Kruger, Miriam Cates, and a few others. And Stephen Swinsford of The Times went over some of the main points that several of them had made. So let's go through them. Danny Kruger said Sunak had three options: pull the bill, commit to amendments at the dispatch box. He wasn't just to privately assure them that he's willing to look at amendments, because he did that. No, you announce it officially at the dispatch box in Parliament, or keep the bill as it is and lose the vote. Kruger seemed to be suggesting that the faction he represents does not want to amend the bill themselves, which they're entitled to do. You know, they don't need Sunak to change the bill. They could do it themselves as long as they've got enough votes in Parliament. So they either want Sunak to do this, or they suggest they'll sink the bill today. We will see. As I said yesterday, I think that would be an ill thought through strategy, because they don't seem to be ready to challenge Sunak yet. So why rush? Also, Damien Green of the moderate One Nation Tory faction said that his posse are only just on board with the bill in its current form. I've already heard several MPs commenting today in the debate. I've listened to some of the debate today, and there's several of them saying, look, if we amend the bill to satisfy those on the far right, we're not going to be happy with this. So if it were to be amended to suit groups like the ERG, the One Nation Tories say they will oppose it. Now, we know that the far right are prepared to vote against the bill and blame Sunak for doing so. They've done the stop punching yourself before several times. They don't back down. What we don't know is if the One Nation Tories are equally resolute that their red line is a red line. If they are, the bill has absolutely no chance. And the Tories are going to have to choose between two options: going for a general election in the spring, probably even earlier than May, and get smashed down to 150 seats, or second, go for another leader, go long on the next election, and risk getting smashed down to 100 seats. Even Hobson had better choices than that. Several of those present seemed to say that they'd had no meaningful engagement before publication of the bill. In reality, that's really their fault. It wouldn't have been possible. Sunak was caught out by the Supreme Court ruling, and he had to act quickly. To capture the narrative, he had to produce an alternative plan very, very quickly. In fact, the swiftness with which he'd had to publish this bill was caused in large part because of the people that were present at this breakfast. I don't recall any of them publicly telling Sunak to, take your time, make sure you get the bill right, and make sure you talk to us all for our views as well. But don't rush it, mate, don't rush it. No. They demanded immediate action and are now complaining that they've got immediate action, just not the action they wanted. Nick Fletcher reportedly told Sunak that the government needs to be more Tory and stop being socialist. So apparently being more Tory means more policies like the one that has claimed its first victim aboard the Bibi Stockholm today. Yet when you try to point out that this is what Tory is being like, you're accused of being hateful. The report suggested that some were satisfied with Sunak's promise to look at amendments, but others say, no, I don't think you're serious. Doesn't matter whether Sunak's serious or not, though. Like, if the One Nation Tories are willing to appease the far-right groups yet again, then those far-right groups can amend the bill themselves. They don't need Sunak to put much effort in. If the One Nation Tories are serious about their red lines, then there is no amendment possible. Doesn't matter whether it comes from Sunak or the ERG or the Common Sense Group or whoever, there is no amendment possible that will satisfy the right of the party and the moderate wing of the party. So therefore, there is no amendment that has a hope in hell of chance of clearing the Commons. The people the far right needed to convince are not the likes of Rishi Sunak or James Cleverly. They'll do anything to cling on to power for a bit longer. It's Damien Green, David, the people like this. Robert Buckland, I was trying to think of, not David Cork. I always get those mixed up. People like that, the senior members, the influential members amongst the moderate wing of the party. But it's a sign of just how tight the vote is and expected to be. All leave was cancelled. I talked about that a few days ago. Pairings are cancelled as well. So what that means is usually what happens is if an MP cannot be there for a vote, you do a sort of pairing where if you were going to vote in favour of it, then someone who was going to vote against it sort of abstains for you. You sort of pair them up to make sure it's a fair vote. The Tories are saying we're not doing any of that, which is now forcing, of course, any opposition MP who wants to vote against the bill to make sure they are there and to cancel things if necessary. But just how desperate is Sunak to do this? He's made Graham Stewart, who's the climate minister, fly back from COP28 for the vote. Now, he is supposed to be representing the UK in crucial talks on literally the future of the planet. Well, the future of the human race on the planet, shall we say. But no, get your arse back here to vote on this stupid bloody bill, which only exists to stop the Tory party splitting at the seams. How on earth do they even pretend to care about the environment when they prioritise internal party tantrums, because that's all this is, over serious international engagement? Global Britain, my arse. But this is how tight Sunak thinks the vote will be. He needs every last person, and how important it is to him as well. There's a credible outcome which has the vote lost tonight. The margin will matter. If it's lost by a significant margin and you have a majority of Tory MPs deciding that they'd rather have a snap election than let the far right foist another lunatic on them, because they will be fearing another Liz Truss level loony, they may decide, after, of course, another damaging leadership contest, they may decide they want to call on something. Just call the election. Have the election in February. It would be better than going ahead with this. And it would, in a sense, be fitting for this completely unhinged Tory party to lose power, not because they were just beaten by a better campaign, not even because they tried but got their strategy wrong, but because they cut off their own nose just to spite their face. The new polling from Ipsos Mori has a few points of interest in it. It's all over the place. A drop for both Labour and the Tories, big old drop for Labour. But of most interest is the increase in share for Reform UK. Now, I keep saying the online polls, which is basically all the others, seem to inflate the Reform vote. But Ipsos, with its different methods, tends to get more accurate results when you compare them to actual elections. But even they have Reform climbing quite high to 7 points. And if this is not an outlier of results, and obviously you can't tell for another month or so, I mean, politics is particularly crazy at the moment. And when politics is particularly crazy, polls tend to do all sorts of mad things. I will remind you that in the summer of 2019, we had a situation where Labour and the Conservatives were in third and fourth place in the voting intention polls. But assuming that this is not a complete outlier, it would suggest that the Tories are only making things worse by trying to stand on Reform UK's policy platforms. They're ignoring swing voters in the centre. They're chasing after those on the fringes of politics who just find the most radical solutions, to be the most appealing. And Reform will always be able to back the most radical solutions because they know they will never be in power to put their policies into practice. Like the Conservatives are usually able to promise shinier policies than Labour because they know they're just going to renege on them. But Reform UK don't even have to think about reneging on them. They're never going to be put in a position. So they can make everything sound wonderful, like there are zero trade-offs to their ideas and it's all marvellous. You know, I put the Ipsos results into the Electoral Calculus's MRP calculator. It shows the Tories on 148 seats and Labour on 423. Now, don't take this prediction calculator too seriously, but you'd need a hell of a margin of error for this to be anything other than absolutely terrible news for the Tories. And this is one of the kindest polls for the Tories out there right now. And it is absolutely the kindest to the Tories of all the credible pollsters. There are so many reasons for the right of the party not to be sticking the boot in right now, if indeed they ever should. It doesn't help them personally because they have not even agreed a common candidate to challenge Sunak. If Rishi Sunak were to resign tomorrow, they don't have anyone to go with. They're not even ready for a leadership contest right now. So why would they try and trigger one? As for an election, polling like this would have an awful lot of them, not just their colleagues, them becoming ex-MPs within a matter of weeks. A year before strictly necessary. Makes no sense to defeat Sunak's bill tonight. But the fact that Sunak is going to such extreme lengths that I cannot remember anyone going to in the past to get every last vote suggests that many on the far right cannot be trusted to have any sense or logic to them at all. In fact, I saw a correspondent saying that Sunak appeared to have been threatening to remove the whip from anyone who votes against the bill. A few days ago at a press conference, he said that he would not do so. And I thought, well, is this a sign that he thinks he's reduced the size of the rebellion enough to take such action, or maybe just a sign of increased desperation? But then Bill Cash, one of the prominent members of the far right of the party, tackled the chief whip about it, and apparently these threats to remove the whip have been rescinded. All very chaotic. They don't know what they're doing. They're acting out of desperation. Mind you, a threat like this, you know, if they had applied it, could be a double-edged sword. Because let's say they applied the threat, which I'm not sure it sounds like they are doing. If MPs feel that they can't rebel with the vote for fear of losing the whip, doesn't that just make them more likely to submit confidence letters instead? Finally, I just want to mention something that James Cleverly, the minister responsible for the bill, has said today. He said that this bill pushes the envelope, but is still within international law. Now, possibly. But if so, that is because the purpose of this bill is to bypass specifically British courts, not international courts. It suggests that the government fear an international backlash more than a backlash from their own public. But there we are. The vote is supposed to be about 7 p.m. tonight. Too late for a video this evening. There might be a video this evening, but it won't be on this result. It may be sensible not to do one at all because I think people are just going to be interested in this. So I'll catch up with my thoughts on the vote itself tomorrow, whatever happens. Sounds like there'll be plenty to talk about. Until then, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.